Hey, it's Amir Bormand, and this is another episode of the Daily 10 on the Talent Tango podcast. And this is my brother, Arash.
Hello.
So today, going to talk about what happens when somebody's not in the office and is not here. They're obviously off.
Good for them, bad for you.
Yeah, hopefully they're off on some beach excursion or something fun or eating something yummy. But the rest of us who are here to pick up the slack need to figure out how we're going to do it. And in recruiting, it's not like in other roles where I'll just do your work, keep it going. These are relationships we're forming, and it's not as easy to swap somebody out when the other person comes back.
Yeah, I think continuity is something that people want, especially when, they're trying to reach back out to the person that contacted them first, right? So today I had a call with a candidate. I always like to use kind of the excuse of the person being on PTO as kind of the way to break the ice with the person because they're not expecting you to call. That's the other thing, right? Like they're expecting whoever reached out to them to call, and now they're getting me or Amir or somebody else in the office, and they're like, "Who is this?" So I would just say, "Hey, you know what? Everybody's sad or upset. This other person, Lucy's in Hawaii, so we all hate her right now. But no, she's really nice." And usually something like that kind of breaks the ice, and then they go from there. And it's a different way to start the conversation than just a "Hey, I reached out to you" sort of thing. So
Yeah, and I guess the tricky part to this now is so you build this relationship and you have multiple conversations. Let's say it's a 2 week who knows, week vacation, 2 week, it doesn't matter.
right,
You have now a relationship. This person views you as point of contact. Now when in this case, let's say because Lucy's one of our employees, so we're using Lucy. Hi Lucy, enjoy Hawaii.
she's an example. Yeah,
She's an example. So and Lucy comes back, there's gonna be people that and obviously processes take longer than most vacations. So when Lucy comes back, all of a sudden, we're gonna have to transition some of these candidates back, and we're smaller, and we own the company, so it's a lot easier for us to handle that issue. But if you have a bigger team or somebody else is covering for that team, and all of a sudden they're putting in time and effort covering, obviously they're gonna pay it back, right? Next
right,
time
yeah,
you're
of
out.
course.
But it's still a relationship and it's time taken away from your day and in the sales oriented activities, time is purely driving your money metric.
Yeah, obviously, salespeople, recruiters, they want to be cultivating the relationships that are most optimal to them, especially on the agency side, right? But to your point, I think, it's one of those, hey, if I'm out, you'll cover me. When I'm in, I'll cover you sort of thing. So I think it works. I think the handing off back, I think is important part, and I think part of that responsibility is on the person that is covering to let the person know, hey, your point of contact when they come back, and again, will be Lucy in this case. I'm just filling in, so then the person's not caught off guard when that person comes back into the picture, right? So I'm a big believer of over communicating in these instances because people don't have all the puzzle pieces. So making sure they just understand, hey, this is what's happened, and most people in their job or life have gone on vacation. Somebody's covered the slack. So they'll get it. It's just communicating that to them, I think, is important.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky bit might be is when you get, if you were, let's say somebody did go off on a 2 week vacation and you are covering, and all of a sudden the role gets closed, whether it's contract or permanent, all of a sudden there's a whole different sticky situation because that person will have gone through the process and they will have done all the work and then they come back and so there is a little bit of working out of what one person did versus the other and whether or not and then that's gonna I think a lot of it's determined by ownership of candidates and roles companies, and this is more on the the agency side. If you're internal, obviously you guys are on the same team, even though agency people are on the same team, obviously less commission. So bonuses and other metrics that are driving the internal side do also get affected. So this isn't like it's just a purely internal external thing. I think when you're spending time on somebody else's rec,
Right.
that is yeah, obviously a manager might take over and that
Yeah.
helps diminish all this. And in reality, that probably is, the most ideal scenario. Manager takes over and that's that.
Yeah. I think another important part is just what processes do people have in place, right? There's a lot of intricate processes for one particular client. One client likes candidates email to them. The other client doesn't want, desired compensation in an email. They want it here. So there's a lot of nuances. So I think it goes to also making sure when somebody is going to go out, they've kind of touched base with their manager or whoever kind of they report to let them know, hey, this is what's top of the money. This is what's most important. On top of that, here's kind of the processes in play with what I'm, clients that I'm working with right now. So I think having some sort of documentation around when people do go out for, more than we'll say like 4 days, right? 5 days, something like that. I think that's something that can be really helpful, regardless if it's even if you just have a normal, you're an analyst or, PM or whatever kind of job you have. Like when you're out, somebody needs to know what's on your desk that should be taken care of while you're gone.
Yeah, and I think with, obviously a sales driven role, so being an analyst and leaving, if there's a deliverable,
Deadline.
then deadline, obviously people are all aware of that. With, let's say, sales, where all of a sudden somebody might respond to your email or text message or call you back, and all of a sudden time is of the essence because, that candidate might be interviewing,
Right.
so there are some little nuances to work out. And I think a lot of it is, for us, we define it upfront process. Here's what's going to happen when you go on vacation. You're gonna let everyone know that's in contact with you that you're leaving, and here's the person tagging in. All those are the basic things that everyone does. We kind of take ownership of the inbox for the couple of days to make it easier for someone. So we really want someone who's on vacation not to check their email. Like, I literally want
Be
somebody.
disconnected.
Exactly. If you're going to, and we don't, like, here in America, we only get so much vacation time, right? So when you do leave, you really want, and she's in a fantastic part of the world where she's gonna want to be disconnected. And the last thing we want her to do is worry about, oh, if somebody emails me, what's gonna happen? So we take over the inbox, and one person mans the inbox, making sure if something comes in, floats it out to the right person that's best able to handle it. We all have an understanding that we're just covering, because if I'm covering for you, you're going to cover for me,
Sure, of course.
and they're going to come back and tag in. Other organizations that are probably bigger, and the managers are probably stepping in. But like I said, it could get to be a sticky situation if a peer takes the rollover, and all of a sudden they move the ball forward a lot and spend a lot of cycles on it, and there isn't this clear cut lines when they come back. You might have to, and I think you either deal with it after the fact, or you think it through and have some kind of policies and procedures up front. Otherwise, dealing with the ramifications sometimes is worse because somebody's always going to be pissed off.
Yeah, and we know how salespeople are. So I agree. I think kind of knowing the rules and the fair game and what's not, I think helps. Obviously, I think this is partially a cultural thing too. If you kind of have that um, kind of Wolf of Wall Street, everybody is kind of their own, lion and shark, then you might get a lot of different interactions when people go out or step away or whatever the case is. So yeah, for us, I think that the whole kind of working together as a team works, right? Especially in these situations. But I think the key is just making sure there's a process in place. It's communicated
Mhm.
to people you're working with and internally, then everybody knows kind of where they stand. And that way, you feel good too when you go on vacation. You're not putting way more on somebody else's plate, which I think is something that you feel guilty about. Oh, I'm going on vacation and now I know my boss or somebody else is going to have way more to do. And, you don't want that feeling. You want to go and have a good time and not worry that you're making somebody else's life more difficult.
I used to go on vacation and I have to check my email because I've worked at organizations where you left as a project manager, you still check the email because you just had to. Like,
Yeah.
there's some places where they tell you not to, but they're only kind of telling you not to. But in
It,
reality, they still want you to be on top of your inbox. And you're like, well, I'm kind of traveling. So there are places that are like, still keep an eye on stuff because we don't. And again, it's the handoff. Like, have you coordinated the handoff really well? And if there's other people that are free, but if everyone is fully full on out, then if you can't pause something, a couple things do have to go through the reans. But that's it for today. So that's another daily 10. We'll be back tomorrow. Leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Any topics that you think might be interesting, let us know. Thanks.
bye.